Good morning. Good morning. It's uh it's a day of I'm just thinking about some incidents involving police chases. I'm in Michigan right now, so I'm speaking of the police chases that I see in Michigan and that I know about in Michigan. And I noticed that in a lot of police chases in Michigan, a lot of the police chases in death of someone, whether it's the death of the so-called suspect that they're chasing, or whether the the suspect end up hitting somebody else's car and causing them death. Whichever the case may be, I want to talk about whether we think that the police is just overzealous and anxious and they intentionally are causing the so-called suspect to crash out. Is this their intent? Uh, Are they showing any concern for the public during these high-speed chases through local communities and residential areas? Uh, and it's just my personal opinion from all the things that I see that the police in Michigan, at least, a lot of the high-speed chases that I've seen on TV as well, and in other states, I could also say the same thing for them that I've seen, is that they are really trying to cause the suspect to spin out, crash out, whatever you have to do to get that suspect to stop. And no matter what they're chasing a person for. And so, excuse me. So a case in point is that I was in a courtroom yesterday. There was a young man, 16 years old. I spoke about him in a previous podcast. He was 16 years old. He was driving up a street in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And the police got on the stand. This is what the police said. The prosecutor asked, was he there on a particular day at the particular time? Police say, yes, I was pulling into the gas station to do a business check on this particular gas station because this is the area that we patrol. So the police pulls into the gas station. We watched the video after the police said what he did. So he said, we pulled into the gas station. I had to make a hard stop because the would-be suspect pulled out in front of us as we was pulling in front of into the gas station. The would-be suspect then drove down the street. He got in the turnaround lane and he drove down further. He got into the turnaround lane, turned around, and then he jetted off down the street. Nothing was illegal about it at the particular time. My partner ran his plates, seeing that there was no insurance on the car. So the officer then said, once they seen there wasn't no insurance on the car, they put their lights on. They checked, so the guy sped off. He sped off. He got up to like 93 miles an hour. He flew through the light, blew through another light, the yellow light. Police blew through the same lights. A lot of traffic is going. These are high traffic streets that they're chasing this suspect on. High traffic streets, right? So the police say they chased him and he ran through these red lights and then finally he hit someone. In these high traffic streets that's known to be high traffic streets. These are not streets like out in the wooded areas to where there is not a lot of traffic. These are high traffic streets. So the police, he said all of this. So they showed the videotape in the court. I was in the court. I seen the videotape myself. First of all, the police pulled into the gas station to do a business check. The young guy who was driving a little minivan or truck, he had the right of way. So he's coming out of the gas station. The police is coming in, which means that anybody coming into the gas station, they usually would stop at a gas pump or something, police or otherwise, right? That's just common sense that I see every day in my life. So the young man is continuing to drive. The police never hit on a hard stop. The young man continued driving out of the gas station. Okay, he's driving. Nothing wrong with his driving. The police gets behind him. I thought he was doing a business check, but he never checked the business. He never once checked the business, but yet he testified in court that he was doing a business check, and this is his area to do business checks in. But the video showed, this is the video, his dash cam video, his body cam video showed that he never once did a business check. So now he gets behind the young man who had the right of way in leaving the gas station. He gets behind the young man. The young man is driving, normal driving. The young man gets in a turning lane. First of all, they ran his plates, and the plates came back no insurance. The young man now is in a turning lane. It's several cars in front of him. He's behind them, and the police is behind him. So the police didn't stop him right there in that turning lane. The question was asked, why didn't you stop him while he was in the turning lane? The police said, because that was a bad place to stop him at. Okay, but if a crime is committed, you arrest the person at the time of the crime that you can arrest them. But I understand. They said that was a bad place to arrest, do a traffic stop at in a turning lane. Okay. So the young man turns out of the turning lane. He drives a little bit further, maybe a little under a quarter mile to the light. They still didn't put on their lights to pull him over. Opportunity right there. Still didn't do it. They waited till he turned on another major street. So he's coming off one major street, high traffic street, to another major street. They put their sirens on. They followed him down some first, and then they put the sirens on. So now that they have their sirens on, I'm watching this video. This is not something that I'm just coming up with, something that I read in the newspaper. I am in the courtroom yesterday morning. I am watching this video with all of the rest of the family members on both sides of the families of the incident that I'm telling you about. And so the police got behind this man. Now, the police testified that when they ran the plates and no insurance came back, this is what the police said. Listen to what I'm saying, please. The police said that the guy behind the wheel of the car was not the owner of the car. How in the hell do you know? It's 9:30 at night. It's dark, although the gas station lights are illuminated. This man is inside of a car. How in the hell do you know that this is not the man who owned this car? So anyway, so the police give chase to this guy. I'm watching the video. I keep emphasizing that I'm seeing this on video. I'm at this young man's preliminary examination. I'm watching this whole incident on video. But the police story is not aligning with what he testified. It's not aligning with his video. So the young man blows through one light, I think it's a yellow light. He blows through it. There's traffic going by, but somehow he made it through that. He made it through a red light. The light for him had just turned red. So the people on this side who was going this way was kind of stopped at their green light because it had just turned green. So he made it through that safely. He gets to another light, red light, and he blows straight through. Meanwhile, the police is still giving chase, and the police is blowing through these same lights. In this high traffic area, they are blowing through these same lights. So the young man ends up hitting this other SUV. Boom, real hard. The SUV rolls over. Again, I say that I've seen this with my own eyes. I watched the video. I watched how many ever minutes it was from the beginning of the chase to the very end of the chase. I seen the video. I can attest to the video. I'm telling you exactly what I seen. And so the young man, after he hit the other car, the other SUV, and it rolled over, the police ran up to the young man's vehicle. They pulled him out, put him down on the ground, put him in handcuffs, walked him to the patrol vehicle. Then they start attending to the vehicle that the young man hit. Sadly to say, and I send prayers up and condolences to the family of Faith Guma. She passed away, and she had a 2-year-old. She was pregnant at the time. Obviously, she lost that baby as well. And her husband, Norman, he was in critical condition. He survived, but he's got to go through some recovery. And their 2-year-old son, he's going through recovery. So we sending prayers out to that whole family. We're sending condolences out to that whole family. And the son Elijah was only 2 years old, but he survived, but he has to go through recovery as well. And let me say, this incident happened August 12th, 2023. I did a podcast and reported on it back then, but I went to the court hearing yesterday because I actually wanted to see, because I don't trust nothing that most police officers say or most police departments say, because I have seen on the news, in the newspaper, in stories, in some televised trials, that they will just lie to cover their butt at any time. Now, let's get into this. My question is, the topic is police chases and fatalities. I just described the incident where the police said that they got behind a guy and he didn't have insurance on the car. They didn't say he was driving erratic. They didn't say he looked like he was drunk driving. They didn't say that he was wanted for a felony, some type of robbery or some type of a criminal act. They said he didn't have insurance on the car. My question, when the police gave chase and they seen him running through red lights, and they was running through red lights with him, are they partly responsible for the resulting fatality and critical injuries of the victims? What's up, Big Ump? That is my question. Are they partly responsible? Because as his attorney asked the officer over the prosecutor's objection, the attorney asked the officer, he said, does the city of Sterling Heights have a no chase policy? The officer said, yes, we do. Let me say that again, y'all. The defendant or the suspect's attorney asks the police officer who was chasing the suspect, does the city of Sterling Heights have a no chase policy? The officer acknowledged, yes, we do. The attorney then asked, and again, I want to clarify for those who coming on right now, and I ask that you share out my feed. I ask that you share out my live because I'm asking that we collectively discuss this matter of a high-speed chase by police because a guy did not have insurance on his car, and the police chased this man up to 90 miles an hour. They followed this man, first of all, for over a mile. Over a mile just followed this man. Over a mile just followed this man. And then they say that they ran his plates and he did not have insurance on the car. They say they initially started following him afterwards, which was a lie because he testified in court and I seen a video that didn't coincide with what he testified to. They said they initially followed him because he had his left blinker on for about a quarter mile. And in those type of cases, that usually mean that there's a drunk driver involved. That usually mean there's a drunk driver involved. It probably was a drunk driver. The police probably was drunk. But in any event, there was a blinker on and he didn't go to the left lane. There was a blinker on. Okay, but we got that part. But why did the police follow him out of the gas station is the question. Because they saying that when he got on the street, he had his left blinker on. But the police said, for those who coming on, let me give you a little update. The police said that they went to that gas station to do a business check. But when they pulled up in the gas station lot, they had to make a hard stop because a vehicle pulled out in front of them. That never happened. I literally seen the video. It never happened. What happened was the police pulled into the gas station. The alleged suspect was coming out of the gas station like he had just gotten his gas already. So he got the right of way to leave. The police is coming in. They supposed to stop right there and let the right of way guy leave. But they was just going to drive right into the right of way guy who had the right of way. So he continued on his way because he had the right of way. Apparently, the police didn't like that. So they got right behind him, forgot about the business check. They just forgot about the business check. I'm watching this on video, so this ain't something I'm reading. They never did a business check, even though the police said that they were at the gas station for a business check. So they never did this business check. They got right behind the would-be suspect, got right behind him as he pulled out the gas station, driving calmly, nothing suspicious. And then the officer had the nerve to say, as he drove down further, they ran the plates. And the owner of the car wasn't the driver of the car. Again, I say, how in the hell do you know? I know that some white people say that we all look alike. I do understand that. And I'm not turning this into a racist thing. I'm turning this into a profile thing. Because that's what he did. All right, come on as a guest, man. Big Unc. And so I watched this video. Nothing that the officer said other than the crash was consistent with the video. The officer just lied in his testimony, but he didn't lie about the crash part. But again, my question to us is that I hope that the family files a lawsuit against Sterling Heights Police Department. No. I pray that the family, because in my opinion, as the attorney asked the officer, does the city of Sterling Heights have a no chase policy? And the officer said yes. That means that he's acknowledging that in certain situations, they should not give chase. So the prosecutor objected and said, no. We don't want that line of questioning. We don't want that line of questioning. So the attorney said, Judge, again, I was in the courtroom. I'm asking that y'all share out my live feed. Again, I was in the courtroom. So the attorney said, Judge, can I at least ask 2 questions? Judge said, yes. He said, let me ask you this, officer. Your speedometer, according to the video, reached 93 miles an hour, right? Yes. He said, and you continue chasing the suspect at 93 miles an hour, right? Yes. And you blew through lights in major traffic zones at 93 miles an hour, right? Yes. And you chased the suspect through high traffic zones at 93 miles an hour, right? Right. So, did you take into account where you were, officer? Did you take into account that you were putting the public in danger, pursuing a car at 93 miles an hour in a high traffic residential area? Now, let me clarify to everyone listening to me. Let me clarify, and I want to make this very clear. The young man who was driving that vehicle that hit that other vehicle and caused the demise of Faith Guma and the injuries to Norman and Elijah Guma, he deserves punishment and has to take responsibility for what he did. He got to take responsibility for what he did, because irregardless of how corrupted, how many lies the police told, or whatever the situation is, he was still the driver of the vehicle that sped off when the police got behind him for whatever reason, whatever corrupted reason. He was still responsible for the decisions that he made when he pulled off from the police. So please don't mince my word or mince my intentions, because I think that the young man deserves a punishment for his bad decision, his bad decision making. And that's a given. That's a given. So we don't have to discuss that. We don't have to debate whether or not he deserved to be punished. We don't have to debate that. That's not the debate here. So I don't want anyone getting on here saying, well, the young man shouldn't have did this. We already know that. I agree with you 110%. I do not disagree with anyone who would come on here and try to argue with me and say that, well, the young man, all he had to do is pull over. All he had to do is do that. All he had to do is do this. I agree 110%. Therefore, we don't have to have that discussion. The discussion I'm talking about is, what responsibility does the police have in causing the untimely demise of Faith Guma and her unborn child, and the injuries to her 2-year-old son and her husband, when the police engaged someone in a high-speed chase in a high-traffic residential area, and they seen that the suspect, who they was chasing for absolutely no reason, but they didn't have a reason to chase the man. The young man did not do anything whatsoever. I watched the video. They was harassing or profiling this young man from the moment that he didn't yield to them pulling up in the gas station, because he had the right of way. They didn't have their sirens on to notify him that this is an emergency or anything. They was pulling up as they probably just going to buy pop or something. Police drink pop and eat donuts too. So when I see the police pulling up and I'm pulling up at the same time, I don't stop for them. Hell no. If the siren is on, I'm going to pull to the side and let them go, because that's how you respect the law. But if I'm pulling in if it's one parking spot at the donut shop, one parking spot, and they pulling up and I'm pulling up, I'm not letting them get the spot. I'm coming to the same place they coming to. Hell no, I'm trying to get them donuts like they trying to get them. My point being is that They're a customer like I'm a customer. They're a customer like I'm a customer. I don't bow to their position at all. I don't bow to nothing about the police, period. I respect people first, stations second or third. I respect people first, then stations come second or third. Let me say that again. I don't care if it's the police. I don't care if it's whoever it is. I respect people first. I respect your humanity. So if you're in a police uniform, I regard you as a human being and respect you as such until you show me otherwise. And even when you show me otherwise, I still acknowledge your humanity. It's just that in that uniform, which is your title and not your humanity, I recognize your corruption. Or if you're not corrupt, I recognize your character. So now let's get back into this. So it is just my opinion from the videotape that I seen that the officers engaged in an aggressive chase because as I spoke with some people close to the case, very close to the case, they said that they think that the officer was just overzealous. He was just excited. He wanted to see the suspect crash out. And so he engaged the suspect in a high-speed chase in a high traffic area in total disregard for the humanity that would be This is 9:30 at night. So it's not like 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a time when people are still outside walking. Restaurants and stores and gas stations are still open and people are coming out. They're pouring out into the streets and walking. Children, they're walking their children. It was August 12th, so it was still warm outside. But yet the police felt the need to give chase to someone because they didn't have insurance on their car. And let me clarify again. The city of Sterling Heights has a no chase policy. But yet the police decided to give chase in violation of that policy. Now, the policy does say that in the case of an emergency, such as you're chasing, you may have ran some plates or something, or you identified the vehicle as a vehicle that was involved in a homicide or a robbery that just took place, some felonious activity, you can chase them because now the public safety is at risk if you let them go. If you let them go, the public safety is at risk. But the public safety is not at risk if you let a driver go who does not have insurance on his car. There is no threat to public safety. No one is possibly is going to meet their untimely demise because the guy does not have insurance on his car, especially when the video clearly shows that the guy who didn't have insurance on his car, when the police first took notice of him, when they lied and said they had to stomp on their brakes because he cut them off, when they was trying to cut him off, I seen the video. I'm not just saying this. I sat in the courtroom when they played the video at this young man's preliminary examination. Oh, and did I mention that the young man was 16 years old? That is not even it. Oh, did I mention that the young man had just told his grandmother a couple days before this incident that his greatest fear was being pulled over by the police and being unalived by the police, because at that time there was another police involved fatality on TV. There was another police involved fatality on TV. And I grew up to where I didn't deal with the police. When I see the police, I'm one that I get in the wind. For those who don't know what getting the wind mean, that means I bust up. For those who don't know what bust up mean, that means I run like hell. That's how I grew up. Because we knew that the police was always up to something, even if you wasn't doing nothing, they was going to try to arrest you, rough you up, or do something to you. So when we see them, we run. And I have recently had the police follow me for miles. And then finally they'll pull aside me and try to look me in my face. And I look them dead in their face. Because I have no fear. I have no fear. I have no fear. But here you have a young man. Here you have a young man that who told his grandmother 2 days before this incident that his greatest fear was being pulled over by the police and being unalived. 16-year-old man. Because this is what we keep seeing. So how can you blame a 16-year-old young man who has that type of fear in his heart? Who has that type of fear in his heart? We all around United States, Sierra Leone, Knuckles family. How can you blame a young man for having that type of fear in his heart for things that he's seen? That's trauma. That's lived trauma. That's visual and psychological trauma that he expressed to his grandmother. And now, I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to say it this way because maybe we can understand it better. After he tells his grandmother that his greatest fear is being pulled over by the police and being unalived, because that's what the police tend to do to black men, young black men in particular. After he tells his grandmother this, now it's his turn. I said it how I meant it. Now it's his turn. Now you're about to be pulled over. So what do you think is going through this young man's mind? I'm not justifying anything that he did because he need to be punished for the fatality that he caused as a result of his bad decision. I'm not justifying none of these saying. I'm asking you, what do you think was going on in this young man's mind, 16 years old, who just told his grandmother that a couple days before this incident that his greatest fear is being pulled over by the police and being unalived? And now it's his turn. And again, I said it how I meant it. It's his turn. Now he's pulled over by the police. He's facing his greatest fear right now. He's being pulled over by the police. And in his mind, he don't know why, because he followed all the little rules. Let me say this here. It wasn't his car. It was his uncle's car. So do he know his uncle didn't have insurance on the car? I don't know. That never came out. But I'm just going to give him the benefit of doubt and say no, because I got my own vehicle. But when I get into my cousin's car or something, I don't say, hey, man, you got insurance on your car before I get in? No. I see my cousin driving, so I assume that. And my cousin seemed like a stand-up guy. So I get in the car with him. So now here you have a young man, 16 years old, using his uncle's car. He's using his uncle's car. And he's driving. And he's not driving erratic. He's not drinking. He's not smoking. And by the way, I didn't mention this either here, y'all. This young man has never been involved in any type of criminal activity, never been arrested, never been a problem of any kind whatsoever. 16-year-old man who loved to work. He's just a big young boy. He loved to work. He loved to play with his little brothers and sisters. He loved to play with his little brothers and sisters. That's what he loved to do. He never had any involvement in any type of criminal activity, no drug usage, no drinking, no none of that. He was a good young kid who only wanted to play with his brothers and sisters and work. Usually, that's the type of young men that we give honors to in our society. A young man who stands on his own and is not persuaded by the streets, not persuaded by the gangs, not persuaded by the drugs, not persuaded by the liquor. These are the type of young men that we give honors to. Am I right or wrong? These are the type of young men that we push, that we motivate, that we inspire to be great because we see the potential. The potential is in his actions. The potential is in his ability to do what's right for himself and not involve himself in a lot of the things that so many other young brothers and sisters involve themselves in. Now, that's his backstory. The young man who never been involved in any type of criminal activity. The young man who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. The young man who only loves to play with his little brothers and sisters. The young man who only loves to work. Because early on in his life, his mother taught him that to get ahead in life and to get the things you want in life, you have to work to get them. You can't rely on anyone else to get the things that you want in life. So this young man, with those good principles instilled in him by his mother and his father, only wanted to work. And that's what he was doing on the night in question. He washed cars, he dog sit, he do all of this type of stuff. And he was dog sitting for his auntie at the time. Dog sitting for his auntie at the time. And the dog was in the car with him. And so this young man pulls out of the gas station. He's not driving erratic. He's not speeding. The music is not loud. There's no cause for suspicion whatsoever. I seen the video. I keep clarifying that I seen the video. I seen the video in the courtroom. So this is not some video that one of us recorded and somebody edited. No, I seen the video. The car was not stolen. The car belonged to his uncle. The car was not stolen at all. The car belonged to his uncle. The car was legal. He's driving the car because he's coming back from dog sitting to bring the dog back to his auntie. So, yep, you just a troll. Hey, Siri, you just a troll. That's all. You're a hater, too. If you don't like what I'm talking about, get the hell off my feed because it seems like you're just trying to troll and disrupt some stuff. So, anywho, for those who are intelligent and have an ear to hear, I'm talking to you. So now this young man who is just a good kid, who does have fears because good kids have fears of police, because good kids see the same thing on the TV that we see by the police. Good kids see the same thing, hear the same thing, and feel the same trauma from the things that they see police do to young black men in general, but young black men in specific. Good little kids see the same thing. So this good little kid told his grandmother, Grandma, my greatest fear is being pulled over by the police and being unalived. Maybe we should talk to some of our children, grandchildren, our nephews, nieces, our cousins, and our little friends, and talk to them about these type of things. Maybe we should talk to them about these type of things, because it's not a fear of mine, it's just a reality of mine. I'm old enough to understand that I fear not what the things that the police do. I understand what they do, and I know that my day can be any day. That's just reality. I'm not going to run from them now. I'm not going to do anything. When it come my way, it come my way. But we're not talking about adults. We're not talking about me. We're talking about a 16-year-old boy. And so this 16-year-old boy having this fear of being unalived by the police during a traffic stop is returning home from doing some work. He's returning home from doing some work. 16-year-old boy. Man, proud. We're supposed to be proud of our 16-year-old young boys and girls. We're supposed to be proud of them that they want to work and that they are working and that they are good kids. He's not trying to act like an adult. He's not trying to do what adults do. He's just acting like a little kid. And we should be proud of our young men and our young women who just want to be their kids and they're not rushing to be grown. And so this little kid, with his fear of being unalived by the police during a traffic stop, now is faced with this fear of being unalived. I have a question. If someone came up to you and they began swinging at you, what do you do? Literally in your space, swinging at you. What do you do? You don't have to answer in a response. I'm going to tell you what I would do. I would beat the hell out of them. Or I would get the hell beat out of me trying to beat the hell out of them. Because that's called self-defense. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. That means that when the threat comes to you, you respond. If you can't run, you fight. If you can't run, you fight. In a situation to where I couldn't run, I fought. Win, lose, or draw, I fought. When your human body is being threatened, you run or you stand and fight. Those who run tend to live to see another day. Many who stand and fight end up in prison because you had to do something in defense of your life that the law refused to acknowledge. But yet they take our life every single day and say it's in defense of their life. They felt scared. They felt this, they felt that. And they unload 40 bullets into you because they felt this and they felt that. But here I am in defense of my life. I ran. Or in the case of the 16-year-old boy, he sped off. In defense of his life, he sped off because he feared that if he's ever pulled over by the police, his greatest fear is that he would meet his untimely demise. Because he feared the police that much because that's all he's seen in the news. And that's the truth. That's the truth. So the young man, he sped off. He sped off, and the police began chasing him because they followed him for over a mile. That's called harassment, profiling. But they followed him for over a mile, right? Now they put the sirens on. After following him from over a mile. 16 years old, my greatest fear is being unalived by the police during a traffic stop. And now here I am driving on the road in a car that I know to be legal. And the police is just following me and following me and following me. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. My palms getting sweaty. My palms getting sweaty on the steering wheel. My feet, I'm having anxiety issues. The fear is coming up. The confusion is coming up. What do I do is coming up. I don't know what to do is coming up. And now they turn on the sirens after been following me all this time. And I know I ain't did nothing wrong. I run. And he sped off. And he continued speeding, going through high traffic areas, blowing through red lights, just missing cars. And the police was right behind him, just missing cars, flying through red lights, flying through the yellow lights, just missing cars. During a time of day when people are out in the streets walking, coming out of stores, walking their children up the street. It's August 12th. It's still warm outside. But apparently the police didn't care about blowing through lights. They didn't care about the possibility of hitting someone. Not them hitting someone. Because we know on his mind that he didn't think about none of that. We're not talking about him right now. Because he got to suffer the consequences for his behavior. Period. Point blank, period. That young man has to suffer the consequences for his behavior, for the fatality that he caused, for a bad decision that he made, no matter if it was based on fear or not. We understand fear. I understand it all too well. That fear only mitigates what he did, but it don't take away from what he did. We're not talking about him, though. We're talking about if the police can label him, say that he was irresponsible and all of this type of stuff because he was blowing through red lights trying to get away. He was blowing through red lights trying to get away, so he was irresponsible, and he showed a lack of concern for the public. He showed a lack of concern for the public. I'm gonna click you in, Ali, man. See what you talking about, man. See what you talking about. What's up, my brother? All right. All right.
How are you?
I'm great.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Where you are from?
I didn't hear you, sir.
You are from?
Where am I from? I'm from Detroit.
I am Pakistan.
I really can't make out what you're saying, sir.
Oh, nice. Hola, Domingo. ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Do you all know what I'm talking about today?
Yeah, no. Digo, apóyame, amigo. I know. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Cómo estamos? Buenos días a todos.
All right. I couldn't understand anything they were saying. It seems like they was just wanted to be on the live feed. No disrespect to any of them. But I wasn't getting into that. I really wanted to hear from the brother that seemed like he was in a hospital bed. I really did want to hear from him because for some reason there was an energy there that told me that he wanted to share some insight, whether it was in agreement or disagreement with what I said. But anyway, back to I'm not gonna hold y'all up too long because I'm about to peel out of here, y'all. But I just wanted to say that the officers have to bear some responsibility when they violate their own policy. If Sterling Heights has a no chase policy, but the officer felt that took it upon his own volition that he's going to give chase anyway, and that chase results in a fatality, then that officer must bear some of the responsibility for causing that fatality. The person who actually was behind the wheel that caused it, he automatically suffers consequences. I'm not saying that the young man who caused the accident must answer for the crime that he committed. That's a given. That's not my point. That's a given. We don't have to argue about that. There's no debate there. The debate is whether or not, when there's a no chase policy, and the police continue to give chase in a situation that is not a threat to society, it presents no threat to the public, and the officer continues to give chase, and that chase results in the untimely demise of someone, does that officer bear some responsibility for the resulting fatality? I definitely say the officer bears responsibility, and I pray that Faith Guma and her family, Faith Guma, RIP to Faith Guma, and we're praying for a speedy recovery for the 2-year-old Elijah and Norman, who is the husband, Faith Guma's husband. RIP to Faith. We send condolences to that whole family, the whole family, and everybody that was affected directly or indirectly by this whole situation. But we also sending prayers out to the family of the suspect. Why? Because it's pain on both sides. And as I said yesterday to someone, the suspect's family lost contact with someone, the suspect. But the victim's family lost someone. It's a difference. One family lost contact with someone because he's in a juvenile facility. He's 16 years old. He's in a juvenile facility right now. The other family lost someone. That juvenile can get on the phone and call his family and still say, I love you, Mom. I love you, Pop. I love you, Granny. I love you, whoever. Faith Guma can't get on the phone and call her family. Talk to her two-year-old son. Talk to her husband. She don't have that opportunity anymore. So yes, the young man who was behind the wheel of that vehicle that hit the vehicle driven by Faith Guma, he definitely has to suffer the consequences for his behavior. But he was still a juvenile, and he must suffer the consequences as a juvenile because he still wasn't an adult, but he still must suffer consequences even as a juvenile. He shouldn't be treated like an adult because he's a juvenile, and he acted like a juvenile. He grew up as a juvenile, never tried to act like an adult. But he has to accept responsibility for what he did, which he do. I seen that. I was in the courtroom. He does have to accept responsibility for his behavior and understand the life that he took away. But the police have to accept responsibility for giving chase to someone over a no insurance on a car, which does not present a threat to anyone in the community. The police have to accept responsibility and be punished for continuing a chase in a city where there's a no chase policy. Continue to chase in a city where there's a no chase policy, and that chase resulted in an untimely death of a mother who was carrying a child, of a wife who was carrying a child, and causing the injuries to a husband and a little boy. With that, I'm going to close this with saying peace and love to those within the sound of my voice. And for those who cannot hear the sound of my voice, I say pass along the message, because someone needs to be inspired.